Hey everyone, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to Tactical and Practical Day. You guys know what we do here on Tactical and Practical Day. We roll up our sleeves and we actually use the software. And the difference between Tactical and Practical Day and our Wake Up Wednesdays is that Wake Up Wednesdays is all about our midweek re-engagement, re-energizing towards our plan. So we're talking MVP, mission, vision, purpose, OKRs, objectives and key results, and it's all about the long-term strategy. Tactical and Practical Day, we're rolling up our sleeves. We're actually using the software to get work done and to show progress towards our plan. Now, as a subset of Tactical and Practical Day, I'm going to start doing a series that I'm calling AI for the Average Guy. And as you can imagine, it is going to be all things AI, and we're going to take it from a beginner, intermediate, and advanced level, where we're going to be covering all of the different and the most popular AI tools that are happening. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen with you now, and we're going to start to cover some of those tools, and we'll continue to cover those through the series that I'm calling AI for the Average Guy. The first tool we're going to cover is ChatGPT, because I think that's probably one of the most popular, and I think you guys are using that in your personal and hopefully professional lives to save you time, to free up some mental space to focus more on different things. All right, so I'm going to share my screen here, and we're going to go into ChatGPT. Okay, and let's just get this out of the way so it doesn't block us. All right, so we're going to cover this as if it's the first time you are seeing it. Now, I know if you've been following the Tactical and Practical Days, we did actually cover in the past not only ChatGPT, but the custom GPT that I built specifically for product and program managers called ChatPM. And we also did a compare and contrast of some basic things of ChatGPT versus Grok. Grok obviously being one of the main competitors. So ChatGPT is from OpenAI, Sam Altman camp, and Grok is from Elon Musk and those folks. I think the most popular tool is ChatGPT, so that's why we're going to be covering that first, and then in other sessions we'll cover things like Perplexity, like I said, Grok, Copilot, Zoom's AI Companion, and all of the additional tools that continue to come out through an intermediate, advanced, and even beginning level. So we'll cover this today as if it's the first time you're seeing it. So if there's things here that you're like, Mark, I'm way more advanced than this, then try and look at them through the perspective of it's the first time you're seeing it, so you don't miss anything. And if you're a beginner, then this is going to be perfect for you, because we're going to cover it. And so the first thing is this is the ChatGPT window. You can see here I'm using this on a Microsoft computer. A lot of you folks are going to be using this via your smartphones too. So they have a smartphone app. Once you sign up and you have an account, you don't have to have a paid account like I do. You don't have to have a professional account like I do, which is only a couple bucks a month. You can start off with a free account. We'll go into the account differences later. The main differences are, memory and storage. You can only do a couple prompts with a free account. Prompts meaning, what are you going to ask it? So the first thing you're going to see here is up top, it says ChatGPT 5.1. Now this update just came out yesterday or the day before. And there's some pretty cool new features in ChatGPT 5.1. We'll cover those. But what's important, what you want to do here for every single chat window is you're going to come here and you're going to see it says auto, which I've selected, instant for right away answers, thinking takes a little longer, or legacy or older models where you get into things like GPT-4. They used to have 3.5 in here. Here's what I would suggest. Please feel free to do what you think is best. In my opinion, I always set all of my chats, all of my windows into auto. And the reason why is if I want it to think faster, then what I will do is I will prompt it and I will tell it, please make sure you speed up your responses and go into rapid response mode. And you can take that away as something you write down, and it will speed up its answers. It will do it faster. If I wanted to think longer after it gives me an answer, after it gives me a response, I'll say, this is good. This is what I like about it. Can you please go deeper in these particular areas? And that's where it'll go into deeper thinking mode. But for me, auto works best. And even in the custom GPT that I built here, Chat PM via my company Hustle Harder PM, I have it set to auto. So for the custom GPT that I built, it has all of the legacy models if that's something you're interested in. And it basically gives you the paid version for free. And so what I like to say is I pay for the models and do the research so you don't have to, and you can use this. Just keep in mind that this really is geared and slanted towards project managers, product managers, leadership, business. It's really geared towards, that kind of stuff. But for just general GPT, now that we covered setting the auto, what we'll cover is the settings. So the first thing is you want to make sure that this is in auto. Okay. Now we're going to click on this thing right here. Make sure that that's clicked. That'll give you a fresh window. And then we're going to come down to my name. And what we're going to do here is we're going to say settings. Now, what you'll notice is in most of the software videos we cover, one of the first things we always look at is the settings. And the reason why we do that is because you can do a lot of customization in the settings. So just like we set the GPT version to auto, and it'll always say auto now. So when they come out with 5.2, version 6, version 7, and so on and so forth, it'll always stay on auto, which is what I recommend. But we're going to cover different settings like that. And some of the settings here, you can say that's great. I love that. I'd love to customize it. Some of it you're gonna leave it on auto. But once again, once you refresh this here, and then you see your name down here, you're going to click that and go back into settings. Okay. So this is just, some of this stuff is just visual appearances and preferences. Some of it's going to be much more important, and you'll see that in a second. So my appearance, I keep it on my system theme. My system theme is basically set up that during the day it goes light, at night it goes dark. So it's going to follow whatever the system is. The accent color, once again, default. You could change these things. Some people like, extreme colors here. I keep things default, keep it very simple. Language, auto detect. I keep that basic. Language spoken. This is going to auto detect based on your computer settings here. So, I'm in New York, I'm in the United States, so that's why it's picking this stuff up. It picks it up from your computer and from your account. And then the voices. This is pretty cool. So there are all these different voices here. You see Cove, Spruce, Ember, Breeze, etc. These different voices, you can scroll through these voices and play each voice to hear a sample. So I'll just do one for you.
Hi there. Nice to meet you. I'm excited to help you get things done. Let's get started. Hi there.
I don't know if you heard that or not, because I'm streaming things through my Bluetooth audio to have the noise cancellation all around me. It may not be on speaker. But if you didn't hear that, what you can do here is you can spend a couple seconds and just scroll through the different voices and listen to them. I like the Maple voice. There are UK accents, there's men's voices, women's voices. So this is a pretty cool customization, and you'll see why, because at first we'll cover generic prompting where you're typing in, but you get a lot of power out of actually just talking to it and having a dialogue back and forth. It's much more sophisticated that way. Okay, so let's go into notifications. Okay, so it's just telling you, get notified, get a push notification. So when we look at things like agents, when we look at things like deep research tasks where it takes a lot of time, or maybe you have a task, set up to deliver to you every morning at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m., you want to be notified of this stuff. And that's where the push notifications come in, but you can customize the stuff. You can turn it on and off. Okay. Personalization. Enable customization. You definitely want this on. This is where you start to get very powerful with this. You can customize it. So whether you are building a custom GPT specific for a client, or you are using a custom chat window specific for a purpose, this is where you can start to customize this stuff. So you want to make sure this is turned on in personalization. So base style and tone. I'm gonna set up some settings here, and then I'm gonna go back. And the reason why I'm gonna go back is because once again, I have all of this and more. I have 10 different books, hundreds of case studies, things that are all already uploaded and customized in Chat PM. But for my generic Chat GPT, I keep it default. But let's say that you want yours different. So you might select professional, where it's more polished and it's more precise. So when you ask it a question, when it responds back to you, when you prompt it, it's either going to be more polished, more precise, or it might be something that's playful and imaginative. So if you're using this for personal reasons, for professional reasons, a little bit of both, you can customize this, but I like it to be default. I like it to be balanced. I will tell you that the Chat PM that I've customized, where like I said, I've uploaded over 10 different books and hundreds of case studies, 50 different video transcripts, 25 different newsletters, and I continue to refine it. That one is set to be polished and precise. But you can customize this however you like. Okay, custom instructions. So this is where you're saying additional behavior. And you could say, I want it to be more humble. I want it to be more opinionated. I want it to be more direct. And so imagine where you're creating a custom persona here where you say, I want it to be professional and I want it to be direct, or I want it to be direct and corporate. Okay, you can imagine how when you're asking it things, you're getting a much different response versus if you said, I want you to be more poetic. And so what you're doing is you're customizing the personification for how you interact with this based on your need. You can give it a nickname. You can see here I'm using my Chrome browser, so it found some things based on my Chrome browser here. But you can have it, give it a nickname, call you anything. You could give it an occupation. And so, for example, in the occupation for Chat PM, it's designed to be a master program and product manager in leadership. But you can tell it, I'm a software developer. You can tell it, I own 6 bakeries. You can tell it whatever you want for your occupation, and it'll customize that for you. And you can keep some more things about you. So if you say, for example, I'm a software developer and I spend 90% of my time working in Python, it will make sure that when it gives you responses back, those responses are more custom to you. Or if you say something like, I own 6 bakeries across the tri-state area, it'll remember that and give you more customization to you. One thing I forgot is that in additional behavior, tone, and style, what you could do is you could tell it things like, and I would recommend this, I'd recommend you write this down. You can tell it something to the effect of, at the end of every prompt, before you give me your final answer, please make sure you double check that the answers you're giving me are factually accurate. And so that's one I would write down, and I would make sure that you put into your custom instructions. What that will do is right before it's about to return the response to you, it'll double check it. You'll hear people say things like hallucinations, just meaning that it didn't get it the way you wanted it to get it, or it got it wrong. And so by having that additional check in there, it reduces the probability that it's going to get it wrong. It doesn't mean it's going to be 100% accurate, but it'll be much more accurate. So once again, in this custom instruction, you might say something like, at the end of every prompt, before you return your response to me, please make sure you double check every answer and ensure it's factually correct. So that's something from a custom instruction you might want to put in. That's an additional customization. All of these things are preferences. That one is a tip that I think will save you some time checking. Okay, more things about you. Memory is where we'll cover in these different chats for different purposes in a second. But memory is where we say something like, for example, let's say you have a health chat, like I have a health chat, and what I do is I actually feed it in medical records and I can interact with it. If there are specific biomarkers on one of my lab records, I'll actually tell it, please remember my cholesterol level here going forward when I continue to upload new medical records. Or you could say, please remember this custom piece of code that I wrote because I'll reference that in the future. So when you tell it, when you prompt it, and you tell it to remember something, the memory gets put here in manage. Now you can manage it and you can customize it and you can edit it, and depending on your level of ChatGPT that you pay for, you can increase your memory. Once again, if you use the Chat GPM, the custom GPT that I built, once again, I like to say that I pay for the model so you don't have to, but you can pay for your own if you like. Reference save memories, yes. Reference chat history, yes. The reason why you want to keep this stuff turned on is because as you continue to use this stuff, and I've been using this now for about 1.5 years, it will get better. So not only does the company, does OpenAI, continue to roll out additional models and have features and functions that we're covering here that are going to be a benefit to you, but as you interact with it, the more personal information that you interact with it, the more it'll reference that information and customize to you. I think that's an additional benefit. Reference recorded history, that kind of stuff. Quick into advanced. Let's see if there's anything here in advanced that we want to. Yeah, all this stuff looks good. We'll get into this in a second. Apps and connectors. All right, this is an awesome one. This is so cool. So let's cover the two that I'm using, and then let's cover the connectors, which is very powerful. Okay. So the reason, just make sure my headset's in here straight. The reason why the enabled connected apps is important is where you will actually connect this. So I use in my personal life, and for some professional stuff, I use Gmail for email, and I use Spotify as one of the things I listen to music in. And so when I connect it to my Gmail, and I have thousands of emails, I can actually work with it and tell it, can you go through my last 5 emails, and summarize them for me? And it'll go through that stuff and actually give me summaries because now it's connected. And all you have to do to connect this stuff is just remember your username and password when you connect it. The same with Spotify. So I use Spotify for listening to music, and I have my audio podcast there. So where we do videos in Wake Up Wednesday, I include the audio version of those videos. So if you don't want to watch the videos on YouTube or the different social media channels, you can actually listen to the audio on Spotify. But that's not what I use Spotify here for. I will tell it, can you create a custom playlist for me, including classical examples like Bach or this or that? Or can you create a custom jazz channel for me, including this or that? And I'll tell a different artist or different styles. It'll actually create that. It'll take the code, it'll put the code into Spotify, and it creates a custom playlist for me based on anything that I say. And I like to listen to that music in the background while I'm working. But as you can imagine here, when you look at some of the browsed apps, once you connect these things, you can work with it. Now, I'm surprised my Figma account doesn't show up here because I've connected and used Figma a lot. Maybe I need to refresh that. But on the Figma point, an example of what you can do with Figma here that's very powerful is I will sit down with a client. We'll be sitting down in Midtown. We'll be having lunch. And at some point in lunch, I'll take out a pen out of my pocket, take out an envelope or a napkin, and I'll draw out, I'll say, listen, this is how I see this working. And maybe they take the pen and they do a little bit of scribble. I'll take my phone out. I'll use the camera on my phone. I'll take a picture of that. I'll come into, and I'll show you this later. I'll come into my client engagement window where I keep my client work. And I'll say, I'd like you to take this picture and I'd like you to draw a digital version of this in my Figma account. And what it does is it takes that hand-drawn picture, that hand-drawn workflow, and it creates that workflow in Figma in a digital version. Now, it's not 100% accurate, but it's pretty close. And then what you can do is go into Figma, quickly edit it, create a shared project, send it to the client, and in 15 minutes, you now have a working digital version of something that you drew out. So that's an example of a connected app. As you can see here, I don't use it for things like Expedia and TripAdvisor. I do use ChatGPT for travel, and we'll go into the Atlas, which is their browser, in a second. But you can use Zillow for home searching, and they'll continue to expand on their apps. But the point here that I hope that you're taking away from this is you can connect it to different apps for different reasons, to prompt GPT to interact with those apps, to do things for you and give you summaries, whether that be summary of emails, creating custom playlists, or creating custom workflows. Kanvana, I use Kanvana separately to create designs and logos and presentations and things like that. But I would imagine that you could prompt ChatGPT to have it do that for you too. I don't use it that way, but you could. So you could, this is very, very powerful. I cannot stress this enough. The enabled apps and connectors, and continue to check this with newer versions because they'll expand that out. Browse connectors. Once again, this is where you're just you're prompting it to log in with your username and password one time that it saves. And so you can imagine how powerful it is if you connect it to Outlook Calendar at work or Outlook Email at work, where you could maybe tell it something like, what does my day look like today? And it'll return a summary. You can say, can you go into my Outlook folder for project Alpha, Beta, Zeta, or whatever the project name is? And so let's assume, like me, you have folders in your email service where you file things away once a week, and you maybe have all of the information that pertains to project ABCXYZ. Or if you're an Outlook fan like me and you actually tag it and label it, maybe you don't file it, but you have a color coding system or a tagging system or an automated rule in place that says every time the email has this particular word in it, I want you to file it away as Project Alpha. Once you connect it, you can then prompt ChatGPT to say, I want you to tell me a summary of what's happening in Project Alpha. And what it'll do is it'll look through those tags and it'll give you a summary. Same thing here with Teams, with Slack, if you have a particular chat. And so I'm giving you examples of how I use this professionally and how you could use it as well. Same thing with SharePoint. Now, keep in mind, what this does is a very sophisticated search. And so if you connect it to Teams, but in your Teams you're not neat, you're not organized, you don't have chats for a specific purpose, or they're kind of haphazardly all over the place, and you prompt it and you say, give me a summary for what's happening in the Project Alpha chat, it's going to pull in everything, and it's maybe not going to be of value to you. But if inside your Teams chat you have specific tags and specific channels, then it'll be able to pull that information. Same thing with your files inside of SharePoint or Google Drive. You can manage your calendars here too. So very, very powerful in automatically summarizing and creating things for you like workflows, which saves you a tremendous amount of time. And once you have that time saved, then you need to ask yourself, what are you going to do with it? And that's really the purpose of all of this. What this does is it saves you a tremendous amount of time and gives you more powerful, more detailed summaries that are easier to understand and does first drafts for you to then refine. And now it saves you time to focus on other things or to put more attention into something. So that's really the value add here. Okay, so let's continue on. Let's go into schedules. Okay. What you can see here, ChatGPT can be scheduled to run after it completes a task. Choose a schedule from the menu. And so we'll go into schedules and tasks, and I have a separate chat for that. But basically, what you can do things like, say, once again, in your personification, if you were to specify that you were a developer and that you were very interested in things like Python or Java, you could tell it, every morning at 8 a.m., I want you to deliver me the latest news and information in the world of Python. I want you to deliver the latest news and information in the world of AI. And it'll create a schedule and it'll automatically deliver that to you. And you will see all of those scheduled tasks here and you can manage them. We're not going to go into orders. Data controls. This is up to you. This is a preference. So improve the model for everyone. I turn that off. You could turn that on if you like. That's where it'll look into the way that you use it to say how can we make this a better experience for everyone. Just a note on this. Even with this off, anything you put in here, OpenAI has access to. Now let me just say that again. Anything that you put in here, OpenAI has access to, and any partners that they work with potentially have access to. And so if you are working with a client and you are engaging and putting information in here, that's fine. If you have an internal company window that information doesn't leave outside of your company, that's fine. But I would never put sensitive or personal information in which you're working on a deal and you don't want that information to get leaked in here. So if you're talking generic workflows, generic documents, generic information, and before you get to that that final refining stage, you can use this. You can use it for private and sensitive information too. I don't, but just keep in mind that any information you put in here is out there, just like anything that you were to put into a Google search is out there. Now, for most of us, it's not going to matter, but just so you're aware. Remote browsing data, we're going to keep that on. Shared links, manage. All right, this is where you can go through all this and manage that information, export data, that kind of stuff. Security, you can do additional third-party authentication, additional text message authentication. I don't do that stuff because when I use it on my phone is locked, and I have the app lock on my phone so that I log into my phone, and then every single app on my phone has an additional layer of locking. And just like I'm showing you now on my computer is locked. So there's already an additional layer of security. So I don't need a third layer here. But you can if you like to. And that's the purpose of going through all these different settings with you, to show you all the different options. So you can have an additional layer of security here. Trusted devices. Obviously, it sees this as a trusted device because I've logged in and used it before. Parental controls. This is where if you're using it personally with your family and you have maybe one computer account or one cloud account, and you can add different family members and have different controls, maybe for the kids, where the kids can see different things. And then lastly, account. Okay. And so what it's telling you here is that this is a plus account. If you were to manage it, you can upgrade your plan, cancel subscriptions, but basically it's just telling you what you have for your different account. Like I said, there's free accounts, there's professional accounts, there's plus accounts, and then there's professional accounts. So this is anywhere from maybe $20 a month all the way up to $200 a month. The $200 a month one is, we'll talk about agents in a second, but this is where you're having agents do highly sophisticated work for you on a daily basis, scheduling and bringing that work back to you. I don't need it for that level of granularity, for that level of detail, but you might. You could totally automate things like customer service and call centers, chat bots, where it's no longer a bot anymore, it's a highly intelligent interactive chat. And so maybe where you were spending and having a virtual assistant do this stuff for you, and you were spending maybe $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year on this stuff, as you can imagine, you can now have an agent do that for you for $200 a month. So that's around $2,000 a year. So you can save yourself a tremendous amount by using agents. In my opinion, I wouldn't use agents to replace my staff. I would use agents to help my staff. So maybe if I had 5 customer service agents that were answering chat queries, maybe I don't need 5, maybe I need 2. And then I have a couple agents where they're working alongside the agent and they're just making each other better. But that's a whole nother debate for another time. That's up to you. But in the account tab is where you can upgrade to that highest level of professional. But for me, I have just the very simple, the account that's a couple bucks a month. And once again, if you use the ChatGPT link, the ChatPM link, which is specifically geared towards product and product managers and leadership roles, you can use all that stuff for free, so you don't have to pay the 20 bucks a month. And as they continue to change the pricing and update the models, I'll keep that steady, so you can use it for free if you want. All right, you have access to your account here. So you can see you're in total control. You can delete your account when you want. In the other tab where we saw the data controls and security, you can delete your information if you want, and where you connect it to different accounts. So my GitHub account is connected here, my LinkedIn account, my Gmail account, and as you can see. All right, so we just covered a tremendous amount of information inside of the settings. I would recommend that you go back and you review these again. I would specifically pay attention to the personalization, where you can customize the tone, the behavior, your occupation in here. And I would specifically pay attention to your apps and connectors, specifically highlighting connecting it to your calendar, connecting it to your email, connecting it to workflow and design tools, and here Kanvana and Figma for you to create custom workflows that are drawn on the back of an envelope, or custom designs that you can just talk to and it'll create logos. Now, I'm not saying don't continue to work with your designers and UI developers. You should, but now you can, instead of just talking to them, you can hand them a first draft and it'll just make things move quicker and more efficient. So these are the two things, personalization, apps, and connectors, that I would pay a special attention to. Okay. Now that we got past all that, let's get into it. So once again, we set this to auto, and I would always keep this as auto. But if you set yours to be maybe professional or maybe corporate, you can say things like, I want you to think a little longer. That's up to you. Every single chat should have a purpose. What I wouldn't do is I wouldn't use one chat window for everything across all of your different personal and professional domains. And the reason why is because as you use these chats, the chats have their own kind of custom memory and storage. And what'll happen is at some point along the way, keep in mind, I've been using this for 1.5 years now, the chat will get full. And when it gets full, it'll give you a little yellow, a little red error box down here and say the chat's full, you have to start a new chat. And so instead of losing all that information, what you can do is you can come into here and you're going to say, once your chat becomes full, your chat's for a purpose. So let's just use the health chat that I used here. I'll say, come in here, I'll say, please give me a summary of everything that I've discussed and asked you to remember inside of this health chat or whatever chat that you're using. Please give me a summary of that. It'll give you a summary. You open up a new chat and you either copy and paste that summary here, or I'll show you in a second, you can upload that by saying add photos and files here. We'll cover all these submenus in a second. And what that will do is that'll allow you to have a constant chat for a specific purpose that always remembers everything. Then you go into the old chat and you name it, health.old.archive.date. So if it was today, it would be 11.14.25. And where we looked at in the settings where you can manage your memory, you can have all of that stuff. So in the future, if you ever exported your data, you can have everything. Remember, the power of these tools is that it can customize itself based on the information you feed it. So the more information you feed it over time, it can get better and better and better. And so once again, chats have a specific purpose. In this example, I have a health chat where I feed it labs or doctor information. When the health chat gets full, because all of your chats will get full, you can have it give you, you ask it, it'll give you a summary. You upload that summary to a new chat and you archive the old chat. All right. So I'm not going to go through all the different chats I have here, but you can see I have different chats for different purposes. We're seeing house, cars, pets, relationship, coursework, social media, client engagement, blah, 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 blah. The events and reminders chat I will use for events and reminders, where I tell it every morning at 9 a.m. I want you to deliver the latest news for me on Python. Every morning at 9 a.m., deliver the latest news on baking, on AI, whatever you want it to do. I tend to keep that stuff here. I keep it neat, I keep it organized. I keep my client engagement stuff here, where I'm working with different clients. But moral of the story is create a chat for a specific purpose. Maybe that's personal stuff, maybe that's professional stuff. And then as the chat gets full, have it give you the summary, put it into a new chat, and archive it. All right. Now let's go into the submenus. This is where you can add photos and files. Very powerful. So let's say you have a specific chat for data analysis, and all of your data analysis is done in that chat. You can, excuse me, you can upload a PDF file. You can upload an Excel spreadsheet. You can upload a Google Doc. And you can tell it, for example, I have two members on my team, Johnny and Janie. And Johnny's summary is in this Excel document, and Janie's summary is in this PDF. Can you go through Johnny and Janie's analysis and give me one summary and one document with their information? And it'll produce it for you in seconds. In seconds, it'll read through the documents. Now, once again, this thing is not 100% accurate. It is a first level draft for you to look at and for you to review. So upload the information, have it review it for you, and then you can create additional summary. That's where files and photos come in. On the photo piece, you can upload a photo and you can ask it to do things based on that photo. Like it can actually tell you what's in that photo. One of the coolest things I've seen lately is someone uploaded a picture of a hamburger, French fries, and a Coke, and basically said, can you tell me how many calories are in this meal and break it down versus the macros for proteins, fats, and the calories and things like that, and it'll read the photo and do it. You can do things like take a picture of your backyard and say, I want to spruce up my backyard. Can you give me design ideas? You can take, listen to this, write this down. You can take a photo of your UI, of your interface, and say, I've gotten some feedback from clients that the interface isn't as user-friendly. Can you give me 3 different examples that would make it user-friendly? It'll pop that out in 5 minutes. You can take that, bring that to your developers and say, okay, these are some examples of how we can make it more user-friendly. What do you think? And then your developers can actually work on that. So it can give you prototypes based on photos. All right, let's go into deep research. You can see here it gives me a number, once again, based on your paid version. If you have the highest paid version, I think you get a lot more of these, but deep research will, so basically when I was going for my graduate advanced level education, coming towards the end of that, I had to write a thesis paper, which took months. And then I had to take that thesis paper and defend that thesis in front of a whole audience full of PhDs, and you know, it went very well, but it was exhausting. Deep research will do that for you, and it'll run in a couple hours. You can have it run overnight. You can have it produce PhD level research based on your topic. So whatever your topic is, there really is no limit. Your imagination is your limit. It'll do that for you. Creating image, you can give it a prompt and you can say, I want to create an interface, and in that interface, I want to see these buttons here, these dials here. You can give it information and it'll create an image for you. And then you can continue to work with it once it produces that image to create more images. Just see something here. Oh, there I am. I don't even move me to the side. Cut me out of here. Okay. I didn't know I had that. I didn't know that I didn't have that turned on. Okay. Agent mode. All right. This is what we started discussing in the preferences. In agent mode, you can have this work as an assistant for you. I don't really like the term agent. I like the term AIAs, artificial intelligence assistants. This is where ChatGPT can function as an assistant for you. And so what would you do as an agent? Let's just cover some examples. We're going to click on agent mode. And what it's saying here is that it can search through the web, or it can search through my email, or all of these different connectors. And like I said, when we were looking in the settings, you can have it connected to Figma, you can have it connected to Kanban for things like design, for things like workflow. But in agent mode, what we're going to do here, and you can see it's giving us some examples: book hotels, do research. And so what I'm going to say is, can you please review all of the insurance for classic cars and provide for me the best insurance for a classic car, and give me link so I can sign up for it. Okay. If you're like me, you hate shopping for things like insurance. I don't think anyone likes shopping for insurance, and that's why I use this example. So what I'm saying is, I have a classic car. We know that classic cars need special insurance, that, they don't just use your average regular insurance like a Geico or something. It has to have classic car insurance. Can you find the best one and send me the link so I can sign up for it? Now, it's much more sophisticated than this. And as you'll see, we'll click it in a second. It can actually sign up for you. Once you feed it and once it's connected to everything, it can actually go out into the web, look in the background, find 4 or 5 different insurance companies, have your information, and it can actually sign up for you. So let's watch what it does here. So we gave it a prompt. Once again, we're in agent mode. So from this drop down here, we covered all these different options. Now we're in agent mode. We gave it a prompt, and now we're going to enter that prompt. And watch what it does. It's going to tell you everything that it's doing. It'll say thinking, it'll say searching through these different websites, looking through these different options. Agent mode takes a little longer than a generic prompt because it acts as what I would call more of an assistant for you, where it's doing things for you. And you can see here, it's going through the web, it's looking different information. All right, so it ran into a problem saying it's blocked. And so what's happening, what you're seeing here is it's doing this and it's creating this stuff for you real time. Like we discussed earlier when we talked about tasks, when you're using agent mode with tasks, you can have stuff like this run for you overnight. You can have it run in the background. And so your imagination really is the limit when you think about, what are the things I can have the agent or the assistant run for me in the background, do for me overnight for just a couple bucks a month, so that when I wake up and I come in the morning, or when I check midday, it's doing all of this stuff for me. Once again, once you have it connected. Okay. So I guess it's looking through Forbes newsletter to find the best classic car insurance. Maybe it got stuck here. It's taking a little while. Let's go to takeover browser. I understand. Okay. And so what it did here is it returned all the different classic car insurance, and it gave me the links like I asked. So American Modern, Progressive, Safeco Insurance. Click Finish Controlling. It took control. Keep the sidebar open. Okay. Let's stop that. And let's go out of agent mode. All right, so once again, agent mode is very powerful, especially when used with scheduled tasks, because you can have it run overnight. You can have it run for you all day in the background. You can have it do all kinds of stuff. You can have it go through file directories and read through files and action files, combine files, do data analysis, write and do deep research for you. So you think about all of the things that you would have your assistant do for you. So I don't really like the word agent, I like the word assistant. All the things you would have an assistant do for you, and it can do that for you. You can have it order food for you, deliver food at a certain time. So very powerful. And then just some additional things here. Study and learn mode, if you are working on some kind of coursework, can interact with you like a teacher. You can search the web. So instead of searching through this archive, this database here, it can actually go into the web real time and look for that information. Canvas, where we looked at creating images, create pictures for you here. Okay, so what are some other things we can look at? Go to agent mode. See if we can get that here. Can you search for a new car? I'm going to find that is no less than all and is okay. That's low. Okay. So I'm saying just search for a new car, no less than 5 years old, and is a Tesla. Let's see what it does here. Now, same thing. The more you hook this up to your information, credit card information, it can actually go out and buy the car for you. So let's see how that works. So now it's asking for clarification. So let's build. Okay, so it's going out and you see right here, it's using its browser. It's saying I'm searching for Tesla for used cars built 2020 or later, and it's going on Tesla.com. It's looking through inventory. It's going through Car Gurus, and so it's doing all of this in front of you real time, and it's showing you just like you would have an assistant do for you. It's going on Auto Trader. Okay. All right. So what I'm hoping that you're taking away from this is that unlike prompting, when you go into agent mode, the agent mode takes a little longer because the agent is acting as an assistant for you. So the agent is going through the web, scouring through websites, scouring through prices. If in this example, you're looking for a car, you're looking for classic car insurance, or you're looking for, to buy something or to do something. Or if you're, like I said, you're going through a file directory and going through, if you have it connected to different file storage and you have it going through data files and pulling information and doing analysis, it's going through all that and it's giving you a preview of what it's doing. The more you use this, not only the better will it get, but the more you can customize it. So once again, you can get to a place where it's running for you overnight or it's running in the background. So you're focused on other work, more meaningful work, more creative work, or you're focused on managing your team, and it's doing all of this assistant work for you, running in the background, and hopefully it'll give us a good return, and it'll then give us a car that we can buy. So it's saying it's finding a car in Florida here. It's checking different sites. Okay, we're going to stop it now. It's just taking too long. Stopping. And we're going to come out of agent mode. Okay, so what you can see it's done there in agent mode is it'll go out into the web and it'll go and do things for you, unlike where you have different generic prompts for different reasons. And so the last thing I will show you is actually creating a project. And so under the projects drop down here, I'm saying new project. And the purpose of working on a project is where you're working with the team for a specific purpose. And so we'll just give it a project name. And you want multiple people to collaborate on this thing together. And let's just say it's on investing. Go to project settings. Okay, so yeah, we'll tell it can access outside information versus only internal information. And we'll just say project name. Project Alpha, and create the project. Okay, so now what it's saying is here's Project Alpha, and now we have Project Alpha right here. We can add files, and this is what's important. Let's just go to share. This is very important. Please pay attention to this. This is where you're going to share it with all of the people you're working on the project with. And by doing that, you can do that via email. You can share the link. You can copy the link here. You can make them different owners here. And once you do that, now watch this. Okay. All right. So what I've shown you here is when you create a shared project with a group of people that you're working with to collaborate together, you can create all these different sub chats for specific purposes. So in this example where we're doing this for investments, you can say this is investment A, this is investment B, investment C, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Inside of the main project here, on Project Alpha, for an example, you can see that listing where you see it here on the left-hand side. You can see it here as well. You can add instructions. And so the instructions where, remember when we first looked at the settings where we gave it custom tone, custom preferences, and told it things like, always double check the information before you give it back to us to make sure it's factually correct. This is where you can do that same thing here on a project level. So you might say something like, same thing, every time you give a response, please make sure that that response is double checked. Or every time you check on things in investment A, make sure that you benchmark that investment versus the S&P, or something like that. This is where you can give it custom instructions that will apply every single time to all of the different subsets you have here that you don't need to prompt it every single time. Okay. and then edit project. Same thing here where you can edit the settings. Okay. So we covered a lot today. So let's just try and recap here because we covered a tremendous amount of information. So we'll cover this as fast as possible in this recap. A subset of Tactical and Practical Day where we roll up our sleeves and actually use the software. We're going to be doing a series called AI for the Average Guy. We're starting that series off with ChatGPT because it's one of the most popular tools, but in other series, we'll cover other tools in depth like we cover this tool. We'll go across beginner, intermediate, and advanced based on what you want to do with it personally and professionally. These tools are designed to save you time, to give you better and more insightful summaries, to be your first level draft for you to edit and to act as your assistants. I don't like the word agents, but to act as your artificial intelligence assistant. So the same thing you would tell an assistant to do, you can tell this to do to have it run for you overnight, to have it run for you in the background. And there's different versions. There's paid versions, a couple bucks a month, and professional versions, hundreds of dollars a month, where you have almost unlimited access to these agents to run for you and do deep research, things like PhD level, thesis level research. If you want, as an additional option, you can use ChatPM here, which is a custom GPT I built for product and program management professionals and leadership roles that is totally free for you. It includes all of the models. You don't have to pay for it. I pay for it, so you don't have to. Keep in mind, if you use it, it is geared towards project and program management professionals with over 10 different books, 20 different newsletters, 50 different video transcripts, and I continue to refine it as time goes on. When you are using ChatGPT for the first time, it's going to ask you to log in with an email account, and you're going to go to new chat here. The first thing you want to do is set this to auto, in my opinion. If you want instant answers or answers that take a little longer, that are more in depth, you can do that here. Inside of the settings, the two most important things we covered in the settings are the personalization and apps and connector options. In the personalization, this is where you can tell it to maybe be more efficient, maybe be more professional. You can tell it to be more straight shooting. You can tell it that you're a developer or a project manager here. You can customize the preferences. In apps and connectors, you can connect things like your email and your calendars, your workflow tools, your design tools, where you can tell it to actually design things for you and give you that first level draft or give you summaries of what's happening in your day or what's happening in your Slack chats. When you create different chats, you create those chats for a specific purpose, maybe client engagement versus relationship stuff versus, stuff for the house, stuff for the car, stuff for the pets. If you're using this professionally, you can have project A, project B, project C, et cetera, et cetera. Inside of this drop down, you can do things like upload files and photos to do analysis on those files. You can say, this is Johnny who works for me, his information, and Jamie who works for me. Two different pieces of data. Can you summarize both of their summaries and give it back to me? It'll go through it as a first level draft. You can give it photos. You can have it tell you metadata about the photos. You can have it do deep research, create images. In agent mode, where we covered the example, it can look and buy things for you. It can do compare and contrast for things like insurance for you. You can add and connect different sources here, okay? And then lastly, we covered creating a project, creating a shared project for a purpose, giving it instructions, telling it what the project is for, sharing that project with your team so you guys can work together, and then creating different chats for, in this example, we'll use it for investments. You say investment A, investment B, investment C, okay? So let's come out of here. All right, guys, thank you. I'm checking the time here. Oh boy, a lot of time on this. Thank you so much for the time. Thank you for the attention. ChatGPT and the other AI tools we're going to cover are very powerful tools that are here to help enhance you, to help augment you, to help you to better lead your teams. And you guys should be using this in your personal and professional lives. This thing is like the typewriter, it's like the computer, it's like the calculator, it's like the car, it's like modern electricity. This is the new tool. This thing is here to stay, and it is better that we learn and we grow with the tool than it kind of just gets thrown on our desk work-wise or in our face personally. And what we don't want to have happen is we don't want these things to get thrown on us and we look at all these options and we feel overwhelmed. All of the options we cover today have been built over the course of a year and a half in which I've been using these tools, and I'm trying to break them down for you. I'll continue to break down further updates in different tools, but my hope is that you can watch this video, you can fast forward, you can rewind, and you can look at things that you want to go into more details on, or you can skip over things. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I would love to discuss this with you or even help you get this stuff set up. All right, guys, thank you so much for attending Tactical and Practical Day and this sub-series AI for the Average Guy. I hope you saw value in these. I see tremendous value. And hustle harder, and let's talk again soon. Bye-bye. Thank you guys so much for the time.